Hey everyone, Central Texas Gardening here. In today's video I want to show y'all how I manage my rodent problem that I have here in my backyard. I mainly deal with the rabbits and birds, so I'll take y'all a quick tour around the garden and I'll show y'all how I keep them out. So originally when I first made my garden, it was made up of just these two beds you see here in the video, and I did not have any kind of a fence system. So once I started growing my peas and my spinach and my lettuce, I was losing a good majority of it to rabbits, which are very numerous here in my backyard in Central Texas. So to remedy the problem of not losing my crops to rabbits, I decided to install some rabbit fencing going around the entire length of my garden. You can see down the link below the specific one that I bought. I believe it was Home Depot or Lowe's, but I'll have the link down there. And again, I put this the entire length surrounding my garden, and ever since doing that I have had 0 rabbits in my garden bed. It is extremely important when you are putting it around the garden bed that you have some kind of barrier at the bottom of the bed as well. In my case, I have some garden edging that goes around the whole length of my bed, and for the areas I don't have that, I did lay some kind of bricks or something so they couldn't dig under it or squeeze under it or anything. You'd be surprised how small of an area a rabbit can squeeze in to get into your garden. So every post that's around my garden that's holding up this rabbit fence is some form of a scrap material, whether it's 2x6s or 2x4 scrap wood I had, or these metal poles you see going around the sides and the back. All of it is scrap and leftover material I had. I did not have to buy anything other than the rabbit fencing and then the edging down at the bottom. So to remedy not having to step over the rabbit fencing and potentially not only just bending it but tripping and falling over with it, I did install a gate in here. Again, this is made with some leftover 4x4 I had and some leftover 2x4. It's stained. The 4x4s go into the ground I'd say about 1.5 to 2 feet into the ground. I have some other wire fencing here that I had left over from another project that I used to keep the rabbits from getting in that way. Again, I recommend you do put your 4x4s as deep as you can into the ground in concrete, preferably if you can. When you get a good rain, I did not put mine in concrete, so when there's a good rain and it soaks into the ground, these 4x4s can actually move around pretty well, and then you have an issue of having a little unevenness. As you can see, it's kind of sloped a little bit, but it still works pretty fine for my purposes. Not much of a gap here at the bottom. The rabbits can't fit under here. They can't get through here, so I would consider putting up a rabbit fence in my garden. Has turned out to be extremely successful. I highly recommend, if you have a problem with the rabbits, to get some of this fencing. It's not too expensive and it works great. There are a couple reviews about rabbits jumping higher than where the smaller openings are on the bottom. They'll jump up to the higher openings there at the top. I haven't had that issue. Again, I haven't found any rabbits in my garden and I haven't seen any damage or eaten plants from them at all. So I think it works well, at least in my situation. Now on to the bird situation. The birds have probably been my #1 bane of existence in the garden. They will relentlessly eat my tomato plants. Big old chunks of holes, they'll just eat right through them. So it has been an extreme challenge to get rid of the birds in my garden. I've tried everything from Christmas ornaments to CDs, which seem to somewhat help, but you got to move them around pretty regularly. They're pretty smart creatures. They'll figure out what's real and what's not, and they'll still find a way to get to your tomatoes. So to solve the bird problem with my tomato plants, I actually built an entire enclosure that we lift up and down over my tomato plants once I get them into the ground. It is made up of simple PVC pipe. Again, I don't like to buy unnecessarily. This is all, I want to say scrap, but leftover PVC pipe from my wife and I's wedding. We actually used this to make a photo booth, and ever since then it's just sat in our back shed, and now I found a reason to use it. So I made this enclosure using this 1-inch PVC pipe. It's jerry-rigged with some different connections that we had laying around, but I only had to buy one item for this, and It's this little three-way connection, as you can see here. I ordered these on Amazon. I'll have the link down below for those, and that's primarily to join the three sections together on all the corners, including right down in the middle right here, this middle piece just being a little extra support. Wrapped around the entire structure is just some pretty cheap bird netting you can find on Amazon. The link's down below for that one. It was pretty cheap. I want to say I got it for maybe somewhere in the $10 to $15 range. And just using some cheap zip ties, I just zip tied the entire thing together. All sides except the bottom, all sides, left, right, front, back, and the entire top all has bird netting. Ever since I've done that, I've had one case of seeing a tomato eaten out. I'm not sure how that bird got in, but instead of losing over 4 or 5 tomatoes I'm seeing eaten every single day, I've just found the one so far. So I consider this enclosure a success. If you can do it, I would attempt to do it the best you can. Again, I just happen to have some 1-inch PVC laying around, but if you need to buy it, it's not too expensive when you buy it in the 10-foot length, so you just might have to cut it up and get some connections for it. I wouldn't use anything less than a 1-inch PVC size. If you use anything less, such as a 3/4 inch or down to a 1/2 inch, it's going to get really flimsy, and it could blow over. I've never had this one actually blow over. A couple connections have come out during really bad spring storm that we've had recently, and I just go out and I reconnect it and I'll wrap a little bit of duct tape around it. I don't use any kind of PVC, cement, or anything like that. My plan is to be able to take this down at the end of spring and be able to store it and have it ready again for next year. I also have hung a couple of these blue Christmas ornaments around just for good measure. I plan on moving these around every 3 or 4 days, around hanging it off of different parts of the bird netting every time I'm out here working in the garden, and hopefully that also deters birds from attempting to try and find a little crevice to get in. But I walk around this thing at least once a week to try and find any openings, and I haven't found anything. So I'm super happy. I'm not going to be losing my tomatoes like I did last year. I must have lost at least 30% of my tomatoes to birds last year. So between that and the rabbits, I don't lose any plants to any form of creatures that's any bigger than a worm, which of course a lot of people have in their gardens, and those are a whole nother animal you got to tame. Thank you for watching my video. Hopefully this gives everyone maybe a couple ideas to help protect their garden from some rabbits or birds or whatever you might have that's trying to get into your garden to eat your vegetables, which we all know we spend a lot of energy and time to grow. So hopefully this gives some hope to some people. Don't forget to leave your comments and likes down below, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, and I will see you on the next video. Thanks.